There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marci Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in. Hello, my beautiful people. I am here with my new friend, Angie Radke, and she is the owner of Lilikoi Artistry. And when I first saw her application, I was like, an artist. And then I looked a little bit deeper, and it's actually permanent makeup. And I think that's really cool to consider artistry because you are using a medium on people's faces, like the most important part of their body. So I'm super excited to talk to you today. But first, before we jump in, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you and I became connected?
Yes, thank you, Marci. Thanks for having me on. I am Angie Radke. I own Lilikoi Artistry, and it is permanent makeup. And so, when it comes to our face, like it's what faces the world, right? So we want to look good, we want to feel confident. And you and I connected because we are both business owners. And there's a Facebook group, the Lady Bosses Facebook group, that another business owner friend of mine recommended to me. So I joined it, and it's really encouraging to just see other women business owners, to see the posts on there and, be able to share, recommend each other, things like that, and support each other here locally in Utah. And I think that that's really important. So I love being a part of the group, and I love that we were able to connect and that I'm here today.
Yes, I love that. I tell people that getting my eyebrows done was like one of the best decisions I ever made because I could not even draw them on. I didn't even have that skill. And so I spent money on my eyebrows. I spent money on LASIK. I spend money on lashes. And I don't know what it is about that part of my face, but I'm like, oh, I look good. And it's important to look good.
Yes. I just feel like when we feel confident in how we look as women, like it changes our whole persona and how we face the world. And so, having that confidence that just says, I know that I'm looking good. I know I can face the world. And I feel like a confident woman can do anything she wants. And so, I've had people who come and get a service done, and the confidence that it gives them has them then signing up to get personal training, or they go back to college, or they start a business of their own or something, just because they did something hard. It was for themselves. It went well. They feel confident. And now they realize I can do hard things and it can turn out well. So I love what I do so much. I love connecting with everybody, and I love seeing the confidence that it gives them.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely can feel that you are passionate about it. And I 100% agree too. I had my best friend on the podcast. Her name is Amber, and she does my lashes. And we always joke that, things like that don't make you confident, but it sure dang helps when you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, I feel empowered, or I feel enabled to go and do this thing now because this other thing that was bothering me or took too much of my time or energy is cleared up. So I think that's very, very powerful. And my background is in the fitness industry, and I just got real tired of people using it as a substitute instead of a supplement to the rest of their life. So what would you say is the reason people come in? Like, does anybody come into you and they're like, I need confidence? Like, they might not say that right off the bat, but what are some of the things that you can see about them that you're like, this is going to be an amazing experience for you?
Right. Like, so a lot of times they come in because, they've struggled with drawing on their eyebrows for years, or their eyeliner for years. And so they're looking for help. They're looking for something that's going to simplify their life. And they feel like they want an expert that can help, give them a shape that's right for them. Like there's so many eyebrow tutorials out there on like how to draw on your own eyebrows, how to measure it out, and all the things, but it doesn't always translate well into how do I apply those steps to my face. And so, to come in and to have them done, it one saves them so much time, but then they know that they've got a shape, they've got a look that feels good to them, that's right for their face shape. And so, so the time savings is amazing. I have almost everybody that comes through here is like, why did I wait so long to do this? Because it goes well, and they enjoy the results. But yeah, nobody comes in saying, I want confidence. They come in saying, here's what I don't like about my brows, and here's what I'm hoping to achieve. And so based off that, I do eyebrows in many different styles. I was a makeup artist for 8 years before getting into permanent makeup. And in the makeup world, everything is customized for that person, right? We customize their look, customize their makeup for the occasion, for their face, for their preferences, things like that. And so that I've taken that same approach into permanent makeup in that I don't do cookie cutter looks for anybody. I don't just do one thing on everybody. I know multiple techniques. I have over 15 certifications. And so I'm always trying to talk with my clients and find what's the right fit for them, both with what they want to look like, with what works for their skin type, with what works for their face shape. And so through that, we're able to get them a look that they really love.
I really love that because, again, it's clear you're very passionate about what you do, but I love how you're extremely educated on it as well. And I feel like in the coaching industry or image industry or anything like that, it's kind of like, oh, well, you look pretty, so you must know what you're talking about. And I got my degree in physical education and health. And one of the things they taught us was very surprising. But they said that your students are going to listen to you if you look the part as a PE teacher. So if you are overweight, they can pull something apart. They're not going to listen to you. And I was like, that is so sad.
Yeah.
But the reason why people do it is because adults do that to themselves as well. They say, oh, I don't look the part, so I must not be credible, or there must be a problem with what I can provide or how I show up. And I was just going to say, I think it's a load of garbage, but it is a real issue that people have to overcome both on the inside and the outside. Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcibarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in. So as somebody who works on the outside, what are those little things that you do to help people on the inside as well? Because you're a mom. You guys, Angie has 7 kids. She's a grandma. If you look at her Facebook, you'd be like, no way, that's not even possible. But you have a lot of experience in helping people grow into their image and nurturing and raising children. So where's that happy balance between outside progress and inside progress?
That is a great question. And you're right. I have 7 kids. I have 4 grandkids. I have 2 more grandkids on the way. And my family means the world to me. They are everything. So yeah, and for several of those years when my kids were little, I was a stay-at-home mom. Sometimes I did work different things like in the home, during the day with the kids. So, being a mom is definitely very central to who I am. And I feel like, as moms and as women, we're always giving ourselves to other people, right? We're helping other people, whether it's friends, family, kids, husbands. And so it drains us over time. You know what I mean? And I know for me, I got to a point in my journey in life where I just felt dry, down to my bones. I was just tired. I felt like I was empty, like I just had nothing left to give. And it wasn't that I didn't love my family. Of course, I loved my family, and I had a good life. It's got its ups and downs for sure. But I had gotten to a point where I just felt burnt out, in life, not one thing in particular, but just life in general. There were so many demands on me and on my time. And so, at that stage, I just realized it was time to start doing something for me again. And at that time, at that specific point in time, I had 4 kids. And so, I had kind of lost my identity in motherhood for a time, which I don't think is wrong. I think it's natural that we do that because when we become a mother, it does change everything about us, fundamentally. But I think, and I talk to a lot of moms and even a lot of clients as they sit in my chair, we share, our motherhood journeys and things. And I think that it's very common that we all kind of get to a point where we've sort of lost ourselves in motherhood. And then when you realize that is when you start the journey back to finding out who you are, as a woman, that you are a mother and it's intrinsic to every part of you, but you're also still a woman, and both truths exist simultaneously. And so being able to find yourself again, find your interests, find what you like, find what fills your cup again, so that you can then continue to give, to your family and to those around you. And so for me, ironically, the first step in that journey for me, was that I, at the time, wasn't wearing makeup much. I have very sensitive skin. And so everything I'd ever tried had just, broken me out. And it was very frustrating. And I just didn't feel like dealing with it. And then, when I had 4 kids and I was like, I got to do something for me again. And I decided to try a mineral makeup company that was online at the time called Everyday Minerals. You could order like a little $5 sample kit. And I did. And my skin loved it. I found a color match and it was just like a switch flipped for me. And I just kind of went nuts with makeup from that point on. And, as I saw the change in myself physically, outwardly, something inside me was changing internally. And I was remembering things about myself, about my personality that, like I said, I'd kind of gotten lost in motherhood. And then I discovered new things, and so it was quite the adventure. And then through that, I ended up working into becoming a freelance makeup artist. And I did weddings, I did photo shoots, I did videos. I worked with companies to highlight different products, made YouTube videos, just all kinds of different things. And that was wonderful. And then, so this had gone on for several years. And by this point, I'm pregnant with baby number 7. And we found out at the end of that pregnancy that something wasn't normal. She actually has a genetic syndrome and she was born prematurely. She spent over a month in the NICU and we almost lost her and it was very scary. But for the first 4 years of her life, her health was very, very fragile. And so I didn't work outside the home at all. I just focused on the family. I focused on her. I focused on what it meant to be a special needs mom and all these extra things that I hadn't had to deal with before, these medical. I mean, it seemed like every week we were at a doctor's appointment or having a procedure done or having a surgery or having an emergency that, would result in a hospital stay or, just one thing after the next. And so for about 4 years, that just kind of consumed everything for me. And at that time, I didn't know if I was ever going to go back to work, I didn't know, but when she was about 4, her health had definitely stabilized. She was a lot stronger. And then at the same time, my older daughters had all at the point where they were all at the point where they needed braces. And my husband's job at the time did not have dental insurance and didn't have orthodontic coverage of any kind. And so we were looking at a lot of money in braces. And we're just like, you know what? I think I'm going to have to go back to work in order to make this doable. And then it became, so what do we do? Do I go back to school? Do I try to pick up the makeup gigs again? But after 4 years of not working, like my clientele had moved on as they should have, but it would be basically starting from scratch. So then it was like, or do I just go get a job somewhere? And a friend of mine who was a hairstylist said, have you thought about getting into microblading? And I said, well, I don't know what microblading is. She said, well, it's like an eyebrow tattoo. And I said, stop. I know too many people with bad tattooed eyebrows. I will not be responsible for that. Not interested. And she goes, no, it looks really natural. You'd be really good at it because even in regular makeup, brows were my focal point. And she's like, you should really get into it. And I said, oh, let me look into it. So I did. And she was right. It looked so natural. And I got really excited about it. So I started researching schools and I found one that taught all permanent cosmetics. And I just thought, well, if I've already done makeup work with regular makeup for years, like why not just learn all permanent cosmetics? And then that was when I took my first fundamentals class, and that was 7 years ago. So here we are.
Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a lot. And as you were telling your story, I think of how beautiful it is that you had that transformation or that experience of finding yourself again as a mother and having baby after baby after baby, because I do believe, like you said, that it is natural for us to lose ourselves, but I also think it's because we're not taught differently. We're not taught like, hey, motherhood's going to completely consume you and you're going to forget that there was somebody there before you had this purpose of being a mother. And another thing you touched on was going to an expert, somebody who knows what they're doing. And it's really awesome that you were able to find that way to up level and continue to grow yourself. And I think that's a very important value that people need to have, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you're loving kick in the pants. That means you're looking for some sort of healthy push to go and do the next right thing for yourself. So as you were building a business, how old are your children now?
So my oldest is 24 and my youngest is 12, and they're all about a year and a half to 2 years apart. So
So
yeah.
what does your balance look like now between being mom, grandma, and business owner?
hmm It is definitely challenging because, like I said, family time, family life is very, very important to me. So I do try to make sure that I have a balance and have some boundaries in place, but also having a successful business and providing my clients with a really amazing experience is also very important to me. So it is, I feel like I'm constantly kind of finding the balance. And there's some days where things might start to get out of balance and I have to kind of bring it back into balance. But, just having boundaries is really important. And then when I do have time off, I'm spending it with my family. And every Sunday, we actually have a family dinner. And so all my adult kids, because they all live in the area, they come over, grandkids come over, and we make a big dinner and we all sit down and eat together. And it's really a sweet time for all of us. And it's chaos. It's it's loud and it's a lot of stuff, but we wouldn't trade it for anything. So just making sure that like we make time, for what's important to us. Because, as business starts to get successful, sometimes I think you can even lose your identity in that a little bit, of just like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And it's important to also have boundaries there that say like, yeah, this is, what I am or what I do and who I am, but there's also another side to me, so I feel like, as you go through seasons of life, you can kind of swing one extreme or the other. And I feel like, it's through those experiences is when you learn the value of balance and you learn the importance of it and how to do that, and how to say like, okay, we need to set aside some time for family time, or sometimes if I have a message come through, I do emergency removals. So like if someone has gone somewhere else and they got like permanent makeup that they don't love and immediately they just want it off their face, I have a technique that I can do to do that for them. But it does mean that we have to get in there and get in there quick. So sometimes when I am with the family, if I get a message, like an emergency message that comes through, like, hey, I just had my brows done by someone else and I hate them. Can you please, help me fix them? Sometimes I do have to be like, okay, guys, let me go take care of this real quick, kind of a thing. So the family understands, but being able to communicate that with them, I think has been really important to just say like, I have to go do this for a time, but I will be back. And then yeah. So with my daughter with special needs, like, sometimes I do have to take a little extra time off to go take her to an appointment or to something for her. So she's doing really well. She's super, super healthy. She's gotten a lot stronger. Her health is a lot better than what it once was. But still, with anything with when you've got genetic syndrome, there's definitely some ongoing care that we have to manage as well.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing a really great job of managing
Some
everything.
days I
And,
try.
and I'm guessing you're able to pay for a lot more than braces now.
Yes, yes, the
Braces does
braces have been well paid for.
with your
So
with your growth in business, did you have any coaches or mentors that helped you with the transition and the balance and the boundaries? Can you speak on the importance of having a coach that can help you through those times?
oh yeah, I did because the artistry side of what I do came very naturally to me because of my background in regular makeup work. But the running a business side was not anything I was aware of. And I say all the time, I say if I had known how hard it was to run a business, I probably would have never gotten into it in the first place. However, I'm so glad that I didn't know because I would have never done it. I would have been too scared and said, I can't do that. And because I didn't know in my ignorance, I moved forward with it. Because in permanent makeup, when you take training, typically you don't work for someone else. You do start a business for yourself. And I just, I didn't have a background in running a business. So everything was very new to me. So I definitely made some mistakes along the way. Some were expensive mistakes, some were just embarrassing mistakes on the business side of things. But, I've learned that a lot of mistakes can be corrected once you get the help that you need. And I did end up after a couple of years of being very frustrated, I did get a business coach and they made a huge difference. Just one kind of giving me the roadmap of this is what you need to do. And some of it was like light bulb moment, like I didn't realize that. But then also giving me accountability to say like, hey, so here's the roadmap I gave you. Have you taken steps, A, B, and C? And so, and then when I said, well, if I don't know how to do step C, then okay, then let's get you the tools that you need to, achieve that and accomplish that. And learning along the way that not everything is on me. And that applies to both business and motherhood, honestly. So in business, like, in the early days, I was trying to do all the books myself, all the website stuff myself. And so I've learned the value of outsourcing those things and hiring an expert in their field to do that for me. And it takes all the burden off and all the stress off. The best money I ever spent was on an accountant. And so yeah, like, so that helps a lot. And then just like I'm helping people with relieving the stress of their eyebrows on them, I'm hiring people that relieves the stress of some of the business side of things to me. In my home life, I've also had to, delegate some things. So like, when I was a stay-at-home mom and I was managing the home myself, my hands were in every little piece and part of family life. And now my mother lives with us. And so she also helps manage the home when I'm not there. Like she helps keep on top of, housework and things like that, and helps keep my kids on track, when I'm coming and going and things like that. So it's definitely like a team effort. And I also had to learn to let go of some things in at family life, where I didn't have to be the one in charge of every little detail of things, and let go of some of that control. So that I could be a good business owner and still be a good mom. Because when I was early in business, I would kind of come home from a day at work and just sort of come home like a drill sergeant and just start barking orders at my kids, like, you got to do this, you got to do this, da 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 da. Why wasn't this done? I told you to do this. And I just realized, like, that's not helping any of us. It's not getting anything done. It's just causing tension in our home. So, laying out some pretty clear expectations, kind of, just learning that even from a business coach, like how to give my kids like a roadmap for, this is what you need to do, and then I can come in and say, like, are we accomplishing the mission here? So yeah, getting a business coach helped me in more ways than just my business. It helped just give me a different mindset on how to manage all different aspects of my life.
Yeah, that's perfect. I hope that listeners can see the difference between trying to do it all yourself and
Mm-hmm.
enlisting the help of people who can provide a roadmap, like you said, but teach them how to do certain things and learn how to relinquish control because
Yes.
you cannot bring more responsibility into your armful by holding on to everything else that's already there. So I really love that. I have a couple stories in my book that highlight that. And I recently had a client who she's like, okay, I came to your retreat, I quit my job, I replaced my income, but this person needs me to set up a business so they can pay me. And I was like, okay, I am surprised you haven't done that already, but let's get this done. And we worked together. She took a break. She was able to do things on her own. I said, I think that's beautiful. But she called me and she said, okay, I need help doing this. And she was completely lost on how to do it. So we got on Zoom, we set it up, and I said, okay, I have another client call, but the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. So just go through the online system and it should help. And she messaged me and said, okay, am I supposed to pay this website $250 for this? And I said, no, you are not supposed to. That's not the right site. I don't know where you got that. And unfortunately, by the time we communicated about that, it was already said and done. And she realized she made a website and they charged her 3 times the amount and it froze her account. It was a complete scam. And I was telling my husband about this, and my daughter was like, why didn't she just have you help her? And I was like, you know what? That's a great question. And when it comes to accountability, there is definitely that balance of like, let me figure out how to do this thing on my own, but let me save some time and money and energy by getting some help to do things the right way. So I think you're a beautiful example of that at all stages. So thank you for.
Well, thank you. It definitely took making some of those same kind of mistakes in the early days of just like, oh my gosh, I paid more than I should have because I didn't know what to do and I didn't reach out for help. And sometimes it was because of just ignorance. I didn't even know there was help out there. First, I didn't even know what a business coach was for the first couple of years. And then when I started to learn and I found one that I felt was a good fit for me, it definitely, it helped in so many ways. So like having someone who's an expert like you to show like, here's the steps and here's how you can do it because you guys are the experts. So you know how to do that. Those things that someone like me doesn't know how to do. And it takes this whole, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I have a business, and it takes it from this huge, big thing of that's just overwhelming and, kind of, makes you kind of freeze and say like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, to like very small actionable steps, like you said, that says, here, do these things, follow the guidelines, and you'll get to what you'll accomplish what you need to accomplish for your business. And having someone that just breaks it down and simplifies it like that was just priceless for me.
Yes, I love what I do because there are so many industries that learn a trade, but they don't learn how to monetize it or to make a
Yes.
living out of those skills. So I think it's really cool to see people like you. You went from makeup, which is probably, 150 job here, $200 job there, and then you were exposed to this medium that's like, no, this is a couple $100 job, and this is a new thing in the industry. Like, I can totally capitalize on it. But one thing that was clear throughout the entire process was your love for makeup, was your love for helping people feel good about themselves, and was your love for doing something with your own life to grow as a person and grow as a business owner. So I think that's really beautiful. As we end, is there a message that you would like to leave with the listeners that will help them take action in their next goal?
Yeah, I would just say, like, if you're feeling, burnt out, if you're feeling, like I said earlier, just that bone dry, like so tired, like it's not a tired, like you need to take a nap. It's just like it's like this overwhelming feeling of tiredness. Like, just know you don't have to stay there. There's hope, and things can get better. And don't be afraid to find yourself again. And don't be afraid if the version of yourself that you find now is different than what it was before being a mom or being a business owner. Like, all the experiences that we go through in life, they change us, they help us to grow, they shape who we become. Even going through a season of burnout like that, like, it was hard in the season, but it changed me for the better, I'm not there anymore. I'm not burnt out. Not that I don't get tired. Sometimes I still get tired, but it's not the same. It's not that, like, you know, I remember explaining to my husband one day when he was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know how to explain it to you except my bones are tired," like, and so, and he's been very supportive. He's been always my biggest supporter. And so he's helped me along the way, and even helped me to take time when I need to take time for myself. When my kids were little, I had to set boundaries for their bedtime because I needed some time, to for myself in the evenings and things like that. So, so don't be afraid to find yourself again. Don't, and be open to what that might look like. If someone had told me 10 years ago that one day I would tattoo faces for a living, I would have been like, I feel like maybe you're wrong, like, and yet here I am. And I love every second of it. I'm thriving in it. I just, last week I was voted in the top 3 best of SLC for permanent makeup. And that just is completely humbling and amazing for me. Just like, that my little business that I started because I needed to pay for my daughter's braces has grown into this thing. And I've literally changed people's lives for the better. But if I'd stayed in that place of burnout, I would never be here today. So just know, if you're feeling that way, it's normal, and there is a way out, and you can find it. And don't be afraid to ask for help along the way. There's people out there that can help you and help give you guidance and direction and mentorship to help get you out of that burnout season and into the next season, which could be amazing.
Perfect. That is a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, Angie, for being here and sharing your wisdom and your expertise.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.